in terms of some models, you know, the numbers change almost every day as science discovers more, suggests yeah, it's like that. Less than 10% and more than 90%. So as Bruce Lipton says, so depending again on the numbers that research shows us, this is anything from 40,000 to 2 million bits of information that it can process per second. In other words, electrical impulses running through the brain. That's how many impulses your brain can handle in a second. It's crazy. It's completely unthinkable, actually. And down here, unconscious mind, some scientists estimate 40 billion bits of information that can be processed in a single second. So this thing about running to the amygdala, finding the last response, instructing the hypothalamus to mix the chemicals in a certain way that you freak out, happens in a milli nanosecond. It happens just like that. So as Bruce Lipton says, here you have in computer language, you have a 40,000 bit processor and you have a 40 billion bit processor. Right? Some of you may remember the days of dial-up and old XT PCs. Some of you are maybe too young. When I used to get to work, I used to turn it on, go have a cup of coffee, go talk to a few friends, and when I came back up, it was kind of warming up. You know, those old black and green screens and stuff, some of you remember. And nowadays, just turn it on in 7 seconds, that thing is up and running, right? It's a whole different processing game. So we cannot overrule this. And by the way, just not that it's neither here or nor there, I believe that, and so does Joe Dispenza, so I learned it from him, that the body is really the unconscious. And that's also why we feed you well, suggest you avoid alcohol for the time that you sleep well. Some of you are going to sleep very little because you're going to get homework when you leave, and you will love me for it tomorrow morning, 2 o'clock, when you're still up and doing this. That the body is a processing vehicle. So when we treat the body well, we have a better chance of processing our painful emotions so that they can become memories as opposed to traumas. And then, of course, the other thing with this, I believe everything is actually in the mind. It's not like a separate part of the brain. It's just where you put your focus on. It's like the internet. The internet has a lot of information on wealth and poverty, do you reckon? If you go to the internet and search for poverty, what are you going to get? What are you going to get? Millions of pages of poverty. If you go and search for abundance, what are you going to get? Millions of pages of poverty. Everything's there anyway. It's where the focus goes. So I believe that the unconscious mind decides which information you are going to become conscious of based on the amygdala, and I guess a whole bunch of other filters that's in your manual, like your belief systems, your memories, your meta programs, and a whole bunch of other stuff decides what is relevant in this instant, what is more important in this instance to protect you and keep you safe. Yes?
Is that referring to like when someone might see green and the other person sees blue?
Yeah. So if I'm not going to do that, some of you may know the exercise where I'm going to say, look around the room and find anything that's white. So you're going to look white, 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 and then I'm going to say, right, so now close your eyes and name everything that's black in the room. And most of you are not going to be able to name more than one thing, even though there's loads of black. Well, there isn't actually, but there are quite a few items. So it's like me seeing Porsches everywhere. Right, my brain is tuned into, this is what I'm interested in, this is kind of what I want, this is where my focus and attention is. I cannot walk past one without going, oh, this is such a beautiful car. So the unconscious mind goes, okay, if that's important to you, I will let you know when there's a Porsche around. I'm sure there are no more Porsches here than in Cape Town, but I just noticed them everywhere. And here's the downside of this. There's a saying that says trauma begets trauma. The more trauma you've had, the easier you get re-traumatized. Based on this stuff, if you start prioritizing this unconsciously, like you're playing small, or your fear, or your panic, or where you get humiliated, or where you get shamed, or where you are not good enough, or where you are inferior to, or where you're not perfect, guess what? Then that becomes your conscious reality. Oh, there's another example why I'm not good enough. There's another example where I'm not perfect. There's another example where I get betrayed. There's another example. The fact is you get betrayed a lot less than you don't get betrayed. But you don't focus on those. You don't necessarily notice them. You notice the one. That's also with the feedback model that I told, that we spoke of before, about the sandwich model. You forget about the good stuff. You just focus on the bad stuff because it matches your expectations to be rejected or hurt. It matches your belief about yourself you're not good enough, or you're rubbish, or you're crap, or you're worthless. So that's another reason to start changing some of the stuff. And I know some of you, it's not your first day that you hear this, and you certainly haven't started your journey today. I know some of you are well on the way there, and it doesn't really, whether you're beginning or at the end, is not really the main thing. The main thing is that you take a look at which patterns arise in your life spontaneously, and then if you want to, you start looking into what might be causing them, which is exactly what we're going to do next. Take a deep breath in and out.